You're listening to Business Success in a Virtual World podcast. If you are a leader navigating these new immersive technologies, this is your definitive resource to understand the innovative power of XR, VR, and AR. I'm Tim Beharon, Chairman of Creative Strategies, and I'm joined by Barton, President of ISM Guide. In each episode, we navigate through new products, effective strategies, and highlight actual business case studies implementing extended reality into business processes. Our resource website now boasts over 300 case studies, 300 articles, and 100 videos presenting successful examples of businesses using these technology in field service, training, digital twins, customer service, in medical and manufacturing, and so much more. Check out the website at ismguide.com. Now, on to the next episode. Welcome back. You know, it's kind of hard to believe that when we started this podcast on February 20th, 2023, and have done about 28 episodes so far. In that period of time, we've covered at least 28 companies, if not more, in one form or another. And in those podcasts, the goal was to show you how big companies and even some minor and medium companies are using XR, VR, AR in their businesses today. But in that period of time, these companies didn't stand still. These companies began to continue their work in XR. And Barton and I talked about this about a week ago, and we thought, you know, it'd be interesting to go back and take a look at some of these companies and just see how they've evolved, what new progress they've had, and if they're still committed to the XR, VR, AR/vision. So this week, Barton's going to revisit a few of those. I think it's 3 so far he'll put in this. And we may do 1 or 2 more because it's astonishing to me that these companies jumped in early and they're not giving up. They're continuing to progress. And they're even making stronger commitment. So Bart, over to you.
Thanks, Tim, and a great intro. You know, the past 12 months have been totally inundated with artificial intelligence. But what a lot of people don't realize is the integration between artificial intelligence and XR technologies like augmented and virtual reality. And what Siemens, the large industrial German company, and what BMW, another large German industrial company, have done is they've kept their entire XR program running, but they've layered on top of it some of the AI learning. And that's a huge transition since we recorded the episode of Siemens back in April 2023 and BMW in June 2023. So as Tim alluded to, what we want to do is to share with you now some important updates on both Siemens and BMW's immersive efforts. And let's start with Siemens first. Tim and I have had the pleasure of moderating panels at the Consumer Electronics Show. I know Tim has been there for more than 50 years, but we've moderated the panel last year. We've been grateful enough to be able to be invited back to be moderating the panel in January of 2025. But I'm mentioning that because one of the keynote speakers at CES 2024 was the CEO of Siemens, namely Dr. Roland Busch. And he said something that I can never forget. He said, within the next 3 years, every physical object that you see will have a digital twin in the industrial metaverse. And I didn't fully understand why that was so significant, but as I'm going to now tell you the story, I think you too will appreciate its impact. So what he said was that the industrial metaverse, which is the metaverse that he focuses on, is almost impossible to distinguish from the real world. An immersive space where people and AI can collaborate in real time to solve real-world problems. In other words, it's a place where you can combine real and digital worlds, a place for industrial innovation. And that's what he has tried to create, a platform, Siemens through a group of partnerships that I'm going to mention in a moment, to create the world's leading industrial metaverse platform. And he doesn't shy away from the word metaverse. He might call it virtual world sometime. Maybe he'll eventually call it spatial computing. But right now it's an industrial metaverse platform, and he'd like to be the leader in that industry. His colleague, who's a member of the board and in charge of the whole industrial metaverse. His name is Cedric Niki. He complimented Dr. Bush at CES 2024, and this is what he said. He said, I know that for most of you, when you hear metaverse, you think, oh, that's where you go to escape the real world. But for us at Siemens, the metaverse actually is the industrial metaverse. It's where you go to make the real world better. It's fundamentally empowering any one of you to turn your dreams into world-changing innovation. Because when you talk about the industrial metaverse, when we talk about combining real and digital world and making those combined worlds accessible, it's not just about technology, but about changing our lives. It's actually about changing the world. So you can see that Siemens has not lost any of their vision for where they'd like to go. So let's look a little bit more at what they've been able to accomplish. So the Siemens keynote was more like a glimpse into the future, where Dr. Bush unveiled this fascinating vision of the intertwining realm of reality and digital innovation. He pursued industrial metaverse as a core of that, an immersive virtual space that allows real-time collaboration with people and AI to solve real-world problems. The industrial metaverse promises to accelerate innovation, sustainability, and access technology, reshaping how we live. Now, a key component is the digital twin concept that he alluded to early on in his keynote. And they've been developing high-fidelity virtual representation of physical entities, from airplanes at Northrop Grumman, to power grids, to human hearts, to human bodies, to urban planning, to entire factories like BMW. These digital twins are not just virtual replicas, but physics-based models that react like their real-world counterpart. And if none of you have actually looked at any of the videos that may be available, for example, on YouTube, and you look at what Siemens has been able to create in terms of a factory where it's an identical factory and working just like a factory, but here you can tweak the virtual factory and optimize it and then bring it back into the real world. That's the beauty of this industrial metaverse that they're doing. He also suggested, Roland Bush, that software-defined automation and AI is the new industrial language. He emphasized the revolution in factory automation with the introduction of virtual PLCs, programmable logic controllers. This shift allows for easier programming control of factory operations, makes technology more accessible and adaptable. And then when you couple AI and data analytics with these PLCs, virtual PLCs, Siemens is able to transfer how industries operate, making processes more efficient and industrially friendly. I mentioned that Siemens has done something very unique over the past year, and that is collaborations. Partnerships with NVIDIA Omniverse Immersive Engine as part of the industrial platform. Partnership with AWS to provide the power of cloud computing and AI with Siemens simulation tools. Partnership with Sony aimed at introducing a new immersive engineering solution that combines Sony's head-mounted displays with Siemens accelerator software. And its most recent collaboration with IBM, where Siemens aims to leverage IBM's AI and hybrid cloud solutions to accelerate the deployment of digital twin technology across various industries. So we have to at least ask this question, Tim. Given all this activity, has Siemens been able to sustain its industrial metaverse leadership during 2023 when they wrote when we wrote the first podcast, and 2024? And I would make the following observations. I think that as a result of the partnerships and as a result of their commitment to the industrial metaverse, they've not only sustained their position, they've further enhanced the pioneering position of their industrial metaverse vision. And let me give you a couple of examples. So in the manufacturing sector in the past year and a bit, Siemens has created a strategic partnership with Mercedes-Benz. They jointly developed digital energy twins to enhance the integration of energy efficiency and sustainability measures within the factory designs and upgrades. In the Mercedes Factory 56 in Germany, this twin significantly reduces the early phase planning time. So real hardcore numbers, not quite typical of the way Siemens works. Also in the automotive industry, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but leading manufacturers, including BMW, are leveraging Siemens digital twin technology to evaluate vehicle design, improve safety features, reduce time and cost in research and development cycles. And it's really quite astounding, the cost savings that have been occurring as a result of that. In the healthcare sector, Siemens digital twin is transforming patient care by creating a detailed digital representation of the human body, the entire body, thereby helping to deliver truly personalized medicine. And that, of course, is the future. In the energy sector, leading energy providers are leveraging Siemens digital twin technology to optimize power plant operations, resource management, and power grid technologies. These are just some examples where Siemens has been able to push forward over the past year. So to conclude on the Siemens side, 2024 may turn out to be another year dominated by news about Gen AI, but it does not diminish the significance of Siemens' commitment to the industrial metaverse. In fact, AI and Gen AI technologies enhance the industrial metaverse by providing users with generative design capabilities and machine operations and programming via natural language, and introducing new ways for humans to leverage data coming from the operational technology systems that AI integrates with. Any company that underestimates the power of the industrial metaverse, in my opinion, particularly if you're a manufacturing company, does this at your own peril. Let's move on to the BMW update. And here I want to have a little bit more fun. You may remember from our June 2023 BMW podcast. And by the way, for those that did not listen to the Siemens podcast or did not listen to the BMW podcast, just go to ismguide.com/podcasts with an S, ismguide.com/podcasts, and you have the access to all of the 28 podcasts that Tim has talked about, or go to Apple or Spotify and look up Business Success in a Virtual World, and you'll see all of these podcasts. They all last 30 minutes, so they're more than doable. But in the June one with BMW, I mentioned that they were an early user of AR and VR, and it dated back to 2014, Tim, when they tested the original Google Glass to quality control pre-series vehicles in one of their U.S. plants. Well, this luxury automaker has ever since embraced AR, VR in product development, in production, in training, in marketing across the entire enterprise. So just a couple of examples. They use VR for workstation planning. They leverage AR to provide training for engine assembly and other processes, inspecting parts, and even assist drivers. They created an AR app to place and customize a virtual BMW i4 or iX in a customer's driveway, so you can actually imagine it in your driveway. They put VR headsets on customers, allow them to test drive a physical BMW M2 through a futuristic virtual city. They've created a mixed reality virtual platform to develop real-time immersive driving experiences that merge real and virtual worlds. They've collaborated with Meta to jointly explore how augmented and virtual reality can work inside a fast-moving vehicle. They built the first virtual factory on NVIDIA's Omniverse platform. It's a perfect digital twin of the BMW 400-hectare plant in Hungary, which reportedly will produce about 150,000 vehicles a year when it opens in 2025, and I believe the cost was 20% less than the typical cost to open up a plant using the virtual reality and the digital twin technology and industrial metaverse. And most importantly, I mentioned the development of their latest car. It's a concept car called the D, which stands for Digital Emotional Experience, and they call it the iVision D, which debuted at the 2023 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas to rave reviews. I spent time at that booth and I was blown away. Now, while you, the listeners, Tim and I can't port you back to the 2023 CES show, the next best thing I want to recommend is you listen to a 9-minute video on YouTube. It's called iVision D, and you too will be blown away. It's really, really very interesting. So the iVision D car was inspired by the metaverse. As I mentioned, D stands for it's emotional experience. It features a voice interface and digital windscreen display. So everything, the dashboard is clean, but the windscreen carries the dashboard in a non-intrusive manner. And it's relevant to what's going on in the environment at that time. It has a mixed reality slider that controls the car's instrument display, so you can move it back and forth depending on what you want to see. It has sensors to select a variety of features ranging from analog communication, augmented reality projection, even into the virtual world. So you can be driving the car, and I'm not quite sure how it works, but you can then move right into a virtual scenario where you're driving the car in the virtual world, although I still think you're driving in the real world. Anyhow, D on the external side has physical elements. So what they've done is they've fused digital and physical. And what that means is you can display your avatar on the side windows of the car. So when you walk up to the car, it says, "Hi, Tim, hope you're having a nice day. Come on inside and enjoy the experience." Now, you could say these things are gimmicks, but the bottom line is they're beginning to personalize that car and drive the customer experience in such a way that people feel that BMW is not only the ultimate driving machine, but it's the machine that they want to drive. And so all of this is happening. They have, by the way, the exterior of the car is something called e-ink segments. So you can change the color of the car, literally change the color of the car into 32 colors. You own the car, but it has 32 colors and all kinds of other things. So the question I have is, again, as with Siemens, has BMW been able to sustain their leadership role in digital technologies in 2023 and 2024? And I would just make the following observation, Tim. In 2024, BMW envisages groundbreaking advancements in VR and AR technologies that promise to continue to revolutionize the automotive industry. They're set to enhance the driver experience, offer features like immersive virtual test drives and AR-powered navigation systems that provide real-time data overlays on windshield screens. They're committed to integrating these innovations into their vehicle design processes, allowing for more efficient prototyping and design options. And here's the great piece of news, just to kind of drive it home. BMW expects to produce and deliver the iVision D in 2025. So they have not given up on this. To the contrary, they brought it to the production level. And in an automotive company, that's a very big deal when they get the green light to bring it to production. The company also intends to expand its AR, VR in customer engagement, providing interactive showrooms, personalized experiences. As BMW continues to invest in these technologies, the fusion of digital and physical is expected to refine luxury and connectivity in the automotive sector. Simply said, BMW remains at the forefront of the digital revolution. Tim, both of these companies are doing great things. Back to you on any thoughts you might have.
Barton, what strikes me as important about this particular update is when you and I started the podcast in February of 23, the concept of generative AI had not launched. That didn't happen until the end of 2023. But as all of the companies who are dealing with AR, VR, XR, and in general, they have since had to take AI and make it a central part of their future thinking. And it's been intriguing in talking to a lot of the AR, VR companies that you and I have profiled in the past, and ones that I'm working with, and ones that'll be in my CES panel that I'm going to do just before Barton at CES on January 7th. 2025. They are now having to integrate AI into the XR VR experience. To be honest, this is somewhat complicated what they're doing, because with the XR VR vision, they could go straight forward into dealing with, duplication or digital twins, or they could, create unique apps within the thing as BMW did for showrooms, etc. But now they have to add the additional idea of how do you add AI to me in my panel. I'm going to ask that question. I'm sure you will too. Is now that AI has become a dominant force, and yet you are also working with XR, VR, and all of your new things. How are you going to maximize AI for your program? Now, some of those examples we've already seen, and we brought them up in the most, I would say, the last 5 or 6 podcasts where we integrate some of the AI thinking that's come on. But I got to tell you, in talking to them recently, and a lot of these big companies, that's a big challenge. And for the companies who are using it, right, whether it be Mayo Clinic or, other big companies who are integrating VR and XR, etc. How are they now taking AI? Because artificial intelligence, there's no question that it is the most disruptive technology we have had in decades. And it's going to not only be needed to integrate into the XR VR world, it is going to have to be an important part of it. Barton, in your thinking on that, because you and I have had a lot of discussions on this, what's the role do you think AI will actually play? Will it be in helping them forecast better? Is going to have to do better with dealing with customers? How does AI really enhance what's going on in XR and VR?
Yeah, Tim, I just wrote my column for CRM Magazine, and this was the very topic. But here's one thing that Tim has taught me, and he often teaches me, but he talked about the integration of AI and XR VR technologies. And here's what he said, and it still resonates very strongly with me. He said, we can use AI tools today to create metaverse environments quicker and better. We can use AI technology to take, for example, a red Ferrari in the real world and literally make it look exactly real in the metaverse world or in a virtual world. So that AI has the capability of doing many, many things to help realize more realistic virtual worlds. And I remind you, Gen Z, Alpha, and other generations want to have this seamless integration between physical and digital worlds. So AI is delivering upon that promise. On the other hand, and this is very important, the AI and the metaverses and the virtual worlds are generating lots of data as per people interact in the metaverse or in the virtual world. And what that does is it feeds the AI engine with valuable data so that it can then come up with better understandings of what's going on and recommendations, etc. So it's a symbiotic relationship whereby one helps feed the other. And it's not like one is going to, become big and the other one's going to go away. They're going to feed on each other and they'll just become more and more intertwined and symbiotic. So in that regard, Tim, I see AI as a necessary and important part of driving many new XR technologies and environments and capabilities and functions and features and applications. But I also see XR and virtual worlds and metaverses continually feeding AI data so they can inference more effectively. That would be my take.
As you bring that up and mention, especially the Gen X's, it's fascinating to me that, and I have to admit, I'm old. I don't understand our younger generation. I'm sure my parents said the same thing, and every parent before has said the same thing. But we have a new young analyst that's joined Creative Strategies, who's in his early 20s and is indicative and is a great example of this. He's not only tech savvy, even though his degree is in finance, he's not only tech savvy, he's AI savvy. He's also XR savvy. And these are the kids that are going to be moving into the corporate environments fairly soon, And if I'm in the corporate environment, in the enterprise world, even if I'm not doing something in XR VR, I'm going to have to start becoming prepared for this younger generation that's coming, that's going to expect the use of AI and XR and VR in what they do with inside the company. And this can't be underestimated. It is amazing to me that we're bringing in a generation who are quickly becoming prompt engineers. And I'm seeing this down to 14 and 15-year-olds who are going to grow up with AI, who have grown up with VR headsets. And they're the ones who are going to probably be marrying it much faster than we in traditional business and enterprise are. And to me, that's kind of an earthquake coming in the next decade or so, because whether we like it or not, XR and VR is not going away. AI is not going away. And they're on a collision path that I do believe that younger generation is going to force the hand of businesses to deal with within the next 5 to 10 years. Thanks again for all of you for joining us today. This was a fascinating conversation. Hopefully you'll join us the next time. Thanks very much. Thanks for listening to Business Success in a Virtual World. Barton and I have helped global companies successfully develop and implement strategies to utilize these new technologies. For more information or to contact us, please visit ismguide.com and select Metaverse Resource Center. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your preferred platform.